Good afternoon, it's Tony Genovese. I am back again. Thanks for being here. And if you're watching me on the replay, glad that you took some time to watch the replay. Hopefully you can hear me. And yesterday we talked about self-compassion. I'm spending this week sharing different tools, different steps that you can take to help you with change in your life, to help you build the foundation you'll need to be able to create the motivation and the change that you want to in your life. Oftentimes we get wrapped up, we want to make change, so we start lists, we get organized, we clean out the cabinets when we want to try a new diet or schedule our time at the gym. And then after a few weeks, sometimes a few months, sometimes even just a few days, hi Sky, thanks for coming. We all of a sudden, we give up, and try to figure out why we do that. And we end up blaming ourselves and usually feeling a lot worse in the process. So in my own life, I found that before I even got to the point where I put together the tools to make change, I had to do some foundational work. And I've used these tools for myself, and I've also used them for my clients, with my clients. So I want to thank you so much for the hearts. I love the love. Thank you. Who else is here? Karen. Oh, hi, Karen. Thank you. So good to see you. So I've used the tools for myself, and I've also shared them with my clients. And they've been successful using them too, as well as I've been. So yesterday I shared self-compassion. I gave you some action steps. I hope you're working on them. If you are working on them, then I would love to hear how you're doing with them. Please share in the group or on below the video from yesterday, and I will definitely get back to you with answers to your questions. So today we're going to talk about parts of ourselves and understanding the different parts of ourselves. And this may sound kind of unusual because my guess is no one's ever really talked to you about the fact that you have literally different parts of you. We think when we feel angry, we are all anger. Or when we feel disappointed, we are all disappointment. Or we may have a perception about our personality and feel that we are a certain type of personality. Well, the truth of the matter is we are never all one thing all the time. It's just not true. It just doesn't exist. Feelings live in our body. We are constantly moving. As you move, your emotions change. I mean, even the word emotion is energy in motion. It's movement. So feelings change, parts change. And sometimes when we change our body position, we can change how we feel. In fact, there's plenty of research out there that shows if you smile, you can actually get the sensation of feeling happier. Why am I talking about parts? Well, the really important thing about parts is that when we get hooked into just one part and believing we're all one part, we can get really stuck, judgmental, feel down. It can make our emotions just go right down. So to have an awareness and be able to work with the different parts so that you can make the changes you need to make in your life is what's really important. If you think that you can never, stick to the diet or get organized or do anything, and you truly believe that, then it's really going to be hard to make change. But if you have the understanding that sometimes that part comes up and you can access a different part to help you when that part comes up, then you can rock and roll. Right? So I got to put my glasses on because I think I have some stuff in the chat boxes and I want to see what's up here. You love the idea of foundation work. Thank you, Sky. Or we attach to the moment and think that it's always us. I have learned that after many years to accept and know it will feel different soon. I used to think that I should feel one way for days. Wow, yeah, that is so true. And I think that one of the biggest myths is that we should feel happy all the time. No one feels happy all the time, and no one should feel happy all the time, because we have different parts in our brain that process different emotions, which tells me that we're supposed to feel lots of different emotions, and it's part of the human condition to feel different emotions. So let me see, just moving on. I talked about our parts constantly changing. They're always there. And I want to give you just kind of a little bit of a background to understand how we have these parts. Where did they come from? A lot of our parts, before we even get to that, what kind of parts do we have? Well, we have angry parts, we have loving parts, we have parts that crave intimacy, we have public parts, parts of ourselves that we show in public, parts of ourselves that we show in private. We have the parts that are the different emotional parts, anger, disappointment. I mentioned all of those before, but I want to make sure that you have a good understanding of what parts are. We may have fearful parts. We may have that childlike part. I know I have a part before I get on Facebook Live, that's the little girl part, like, oh no, Tony, you can't go and talk to these people. So I have to work with that part, The beauty about being aware of having these different parts is that you really can do something with it. You're not trapped by just having one particular part dictate your life and tell you how you're supposed to be. It gives you so much freedom to understand that you can access different parts of yourselves. So I was going to give you a little background and history so that you understand where the idea of parts came from. Parts of us have been developed at different points of time, and that's why you may feel like you have that childlike part. Because that part probably was developed in childhood as a part that was helping you with some kind of emotional burden that you had. Something occurred. It could have been a trauma. It could have been just a situation that was really hard for you to understand at the time, and you had to protect yourself. So a part popped up to help you protect the inner core of you, so that you could understand and be taken care of by that part. So things that happen as a result of trauma for people, or situations that are really confusing, is flight, fight, freeze, submit, or attach. Now, you might know about flight and fight. You probably have heard those already, that we do that. Freeze is another thing that happens. Sometimes people freeze up. And then submit and attach, which I won't get into now. I won't get into kind of what those things are. But basically, different kinds of emotions and behaviors are attached to those survival mechanisms. Flight, fight, freeze, attach, and submit are things that we do to survive when we feel like we're threatened. Okay? So fight, flight, freeze, submit, attach. Things that happen, things that we do, or feelings that we have that have helped us survive. Now, those things are not necessarily functional or helpful given the situation now, but for some reason they helped us survive when we were little, and they have carried over into adulthood. Those are the kinds of symptoms or things that we do that confuse us. Like, why do we overeat when we don't want to do that? Or why do we constantly worry when we don't want to do that? Why do we, immediately feel hurt or guilty, perhaps when something happens that has nothing to do with us? Well, these were the parts that were developed that helped us deal with whatever it was we needed to deal with as children or later in life. Okay, so what do we do with all these parts? I said to you, knowing that you have parts, first of all, is really freeing, because you don't get locked into just believing that you are all of that thing. and that's it. You can have a better understanding that you can access a different part. So you might want to do that. You might want to start noticing, and here's an action step for you, of when a feeling is coming up or a behavior is coming up, and just notice it and recognize it as being a part of yourself and say, oh, there's that part of myself that is really hungry and really wants to eat right now, even though I know there's another part of me that's not so hungry. Being able to notice that, recognize that, and say that, and acknowledge both parts puts you back in the driver's seat. You don't get hijacked anymore. You know, some people get hijacked by worry, or get hijacked by the binge eating, or get hijacked by feeling guilty, or another one that I hear a lot of, women who want to be perfect. They have that perfectionistic tendency. They have to have everything organized and ready, and it's really upsetting if things aren't. That's another part that can hijack you. But to recognize and notice that there is another part that's maybe wants something different in that moment gives you a little bit more control. In that moment, you don't get so hijacked. So I want to kind of throw that out there at you, to you, as a choice that you have to just start noticing. Now, I'm not asking you to make any changes right now. All I'm asking you to do is notice when the parts are coming up. Notice when you're having a feeling. Notice that it's there, and then see if you can notice another feeling. If you can't, then the one thing you can do that can be extremely helpful is to access your observer part. That's the part that's kind of up here, that looks down and sees what's going on. And just notice from that perspective. You know, maybe inside it's hard to find the part, you know, maybe you have that part that wants to eat, or worry, or get into perfectionistic mode, and maybe it's hard to access the part that wants something else, or is feeling a different way. But so, you know, but if you can't do that, then be the observer and see if you can kind of detach a little bit emotionally from that part, and just kind of notice it in a non-judgmental way, and be the observer and be with it for a little while. So if you have any questions, you can drop them in the chat box now. You can drop them in later on. I'll be back and I will check. I hope that you found this helpful. If you did, please let me know if it makes sense to you, if there are tips and tricks you want to try. Remember, we're kind of building a foundation up over the course of the week. It may not all make sense to you, separate it out as I'm doing these 5 Facebook Lives, but together it is going to work together to help build a foundation for you to make the commitment to the change that you want to make. So again, I'm Toni Genovese. Thank you if you're watching now. Thank you if you're watching me on the replay. So glad you were here today. Have a beautiful day. Talk to you tomorrow, 12 o'clock noon. See you then. Bye.